So no separate administration, this is being said by N. Biren Singh. Meanwhile, the peace process has also hit a roadblock. Even as Manipur burns, brokering peace has become the real challenge for the central and state government, with no parties accepting the peace committee set up by Home Ministry to bring about a settlement in the violence-torn state. Various tribal leaders forum has issued a directive on Monday stating that no civil society organization, tribe bodies and individuals shall participate in the peace committee. They say that no talks about peace is possible in the shadow of continued violence. They're also objecting to the inclusion of Chief Minister N. Biren Singh in the committee, whom they consider the main perpetrators of this violence. Even the COCOMI, the COCOMI, an umbrella body of Meitei CSOs, expressed displeasure over the composition of the committee. Meanwhile, Chief Minister N. Biren Singh has stated that the Manipur government is strongly against a separate administration and that it will not step back in its fight for the territorial integrity of the state. And amid all this violence, it does not seem to end. And in the latest, one person was killed in an incident of firing in Lailofai area of Churachandpur district on Monday. The area is located at the Hill district's border with Bishnupur district in Valley. What do you make of the statements which have been made by the Chief Minister of Manipur? You know, his important statement about that there's going to be no separate administration and he's strongly opposed to it. Yes, sir. What do you have to say on that?
Mr. Kartik, I would like to say that basically the announcement of the government of Manipur is welcome. If the government of India thinks that there should be a one state, which is called Manipur, it will be in the very right direction because, you know, we have a very small state. We have about 22,000 square kilometers approximately, the area of that. And we have about more than 35 sub-ethnic groups in this state, small state, where everybody is staying for so long, including Naga, Kukis, and others, tribes, peoples around here. We have been living together peacefully for so long. Now, due to some of the misunderstanding which has been happening recently, there is a huge crisis taking place now. Now, if you divide more and more on this, it will be a huge, chaos, because we will again more divide. The divisions of the state on the separate administrations or the autonomy will divide more on our communities, including all tribes and the different tribes around here. When we talk about the integrity questions, we have a history to learn that we have been living peacefully for so long. So there is no question of having separate state or separate administration. If you have any issues in terms of development, that can be tackled, and it has to be people has to raise these issues to the government and concerned government, and the development can be brought. So that way one can think about it. But by the way, one another point I want to make it beside the statement of the government of Manipur and the chief ministers. There are a few things. This crisis, why it is happening for so long, more than a month. The question is that is because there is a failure in the part of the government. We all can say, because the more than a month, how this conflict is continue to take place in the different part of the Manipur. Why not you control it immediate actions? Means you have more than 40,000 force in your hand, and you allow this to continue to take place in the different part of the state. This is very, very unfortunate. So therefore, even if there is a double engine government in Manipur, there is a lack of understanding between them. There is a lack of interest in resolving. Therefore, by saying that we don't need to worry about integrity, we don't need to worry about separate issues, Yes, there are concern for the other communities, like Kuki community have that some concern. We have to address that. Listen to them. Try to understand what they want, and try to understand and resolve it immediately. The government should initiate such kind of dialogue with them, and
Okay.
simultaneously also contact the Meitei community to resolve the matters. As a head of the state, the democratic head of the state, it's your duty by saying there is a communication between state and the central government going on. There is a lot of relief comes. It is not the way to handle. Why you are waiting for so long, more than a month, and
Okay.
people are dying. There is children's, there is all age people, there is there are a lot of people who is farmers, there are the daily wagers, and the ill men, ill peoples around. Everybody is suffering.
Okay.
Everybody is suffering.
Yes.
So
Okay.
you are taking so much time to understand this situation. So this is very very unfortunate for the people of the state. This is what, Kartik, I want to say.
Professor Swan, how do you read into this statement which has been made by Chief Minister N. Biren Singh, where he says that that strongly against a separate administration and that it will not step back from it in its fight for territorial integrity of the state. Goes on to say the land of Manipur is for us, for the 35 communities, including the Meiteis, and we will not allow any kind of alternative administration. And even the Home Minister has said, which is Union Home Minister, that no separate administration would be given. So why ask again and again?
Yeah, I think Biren Singh is well within his right as an individual to express, given that he has continued to be at the helm of affairs, despite the fact that his legitimacy has been thoroughly exposed. And the very fact that he has completely failed to restore normalcy, peace and stability after more than 1 month of the outbreak of violence, in effect should have been a telling commentary on the type of leadership that he delivers for the people of Manipur. And he should have taken moral responsibility by stepping down. And instead of that, he seems to be steadfastly holding on to his own fort. And given that he has totally lacked legitimacy and trust from overwhelming section of the population from Manipur, I think it's about time that he stepped down. And he unfortunately has become a major stumbling block to establishing peace and stability in the state, given that he continues to mislead and misguide by by issuing a sort of loosely defined categories which does not help the matter on the ground, precisely because he keeps on targeting a particular community unrealistically or illegally as terrorists. And in fact, there are allegations and there are evidence around that Arambal, Tengol, Meitei Lipund are just marionettes of the proscribed terrorist organizations, which in effect is fed on by Biren Singh within a larger institutional ecosystem. And that is precisely why that given that there are extensive reports of arms and ammunition handed over to this militant organization who are considered to be marionettes or instrument of proscribed terrorist organization under the full complicity or active aid or participation of the state government. I do not think that until and unless these militant organizations are identified, they are declared unlawful under sections of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, and they are in effect controlled within the valley areas, all these offensive strikes would never come to an end. And I think therefore the onus is solely on the state, in effect, to deal with offensive strike. If you look at the pattern of violence that emerged, since the visit of Union Minister of State, subsequently Chief of Army Staff, and recently the Home Minister, you see that all of this escalation happens thanks to the offensive strike launched by the state commandos on the pretext of combing operation with the full participation of these militant armed organizations, Meitei Lipun and Arambal Tengol. And so long as the chief minister continued to patronize, allow these militant armed organization to do havoc, cause havoc and violence in the hill areas, in the foothills, we would not possibly have a semblance of peace and stability. That's another thing. Another point I think that is also important for us to note at this juncture is that the incongruity in taking charge of law and order, given that you have deployment of more than 40,000 as claimed by the chief minister himself, why is it that these 40-odd central armed military forces not able to contain violent conflicts in Manipur? I think there is a incongruity, a structural incongruity, where instead of declaring, Article 55, you do not have this in place, and instead you have a unified command system which is, purportedly taken over by Kuldeep Singh, the security advisor to the chief minister. And I think this is seen now increasingly as a deliberate attempt to obfuscate, constitutional responsibility of who actually called the shot when it comes to establishing law and order. And it is very convenient for the central government to argue that it has, in effect, taken over, in charge of law and order,
Professor,
which is actually not the case, because, it's good because it makes good political optics, because the chief minister can wash off his hands saying that there is a unified political command, security command, which is taken care of by Kuldeep Singh. Therefore, the incompetence, if at all there is any, in regulating law and order should squarely lie with the unified security command. This is a very, clever, deliberate ploy to, obfuscate responsibility of the chief minister, who continues to hold the home department. And I think, therefore, it is about time that the central government realize the, structural violence which is perpetuated under this incongruous constitutional provision, which is also not advisable and which is not actually healthy for democratic institutionalization in the long run. And until and unless this is fixed immediately, accountability and responsibility is fixed, the chief minister asks to go, and the central government take full charge of law and order, I do not see that there is any, a semblance of peace and stability coming around soon.